Thank you so much for contacting us and for wanting to talk about your books.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. To start off, could you please just introduce yourself? Like, maybe say your name, and then just talk a little bit about who you are and why you write.
So my name is Anna, and I like to write because that was just something natural that came to me as a kid, and I loved creative writing because I can make up anything.
That is so nice. Just the power of imagination. Anything you want to create. That's amazing. Um, and you are in Michigan, is that correct?
Yep.
Wow, that's exciting. Well, all the way, you are our first guest who's not from Idaho. So, welcome to the Story Station. We're happy to
Well,
have you here.
thank you.
And so, I was looking at your book. You have 2 books currently published. Is that right?
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about them.
So I have The Secret Lies in Your DNA, and that is about a young girl who is a teenager and she's going through high school, and she ended up in foster care because of some circumstances in her home that her school finds out about, and then she goes through different homes through foster care. But through that, she finds out that her mom that was raising her is not her biological mother. And so she finds her birth mother, and her birth mother is the one that, starts to live with. And then the second book is called the Shattered Glass, or Shattered Glass, I should say. Not the Shattered Glass, just Shattered Glass. And um, it's a series from that first book that I mentioned, The Secret Lies in Your DNA. And it's about the same girl, and she's growing up as a young adult now in the second book. And she goes through all these different things. Like, she finds out she has some other siblings through her biological dad. And then, like, all these crazy things happen with them, and she dates this guy that she finds out is actually her brother.
Oh, no.
And then um like towards the end she end up becoming a mom for the first time, and it's a lot of things that like conspire up to that point. But I think that it's really like one of those like lifetime type of movies, lifetime types of books, because I watch a lot of lifetime movies. So
Wow.
I was able to create a book kind of based on the things that I've seen in life on Lifetime. I've never seen anyone like have a story like identical to mine, but I've
Hmm.
seen different movies where there was, like maybe someone finds out, oh, like this lady is not their parent or something like that, or like some kind of surrogacy, like story, something like that. And so like that's kind of what I tried to like create. And then like some things I can relate to. So
That sounds like a lot of twists and turns.
yeah, it is.
So, you said you watch a lot of movies with kind of real life stories. Is that what inspired you to write realistic fiction?
Um Part of it, but also like there's some things that I experienced as a kid, and I wanted to put that into like a book form. The characters are not me, like, it's all made up, but like I wanted to, have people be able to relate to something, and also I feel like I could relate to that character because, well, obviously I wrote it too, but, I also can relate to because there's some things that I've gone through. as a kid or, as an adult. And so I wanted to make a story that I could relate to just to get out my feelings about things that have happened in my life. So that's basically where that came into play.
Do you have any tips for making your characters and the challenges that they face seem real and relatable?
Um, I think that you can just start with, what kind of things have happened in my life and what kind of things would I like to have happen in my life. That's kind of something that I went off of when I started writing the book, is that I was thinking about places that I've been or um, things that have happened and how I would love for it to change if I could have changed it. And so that's where I went from there.
Wow. I like what you were saying about taking inspiration not only from what has happened, but what you want to happen. That's really creative, and I like that.
Thank you.
So, where do your books take place?
So, the first book, The Secret Lies in Your DNA, and I forgot to say that the book is by Queen Anna, not just Anna.
Oh,
Um,
okay. That's a cool
and
author name.
thank you. And it's also on Lulu. I forgot to also say that. .com. They take place. The first one takes place in a, like, I don't want to say like a suburb because it's not like really like that suburban, but it's like not urban at all.
Okay.
So it's kind of like in the middle there. And um, the girl is kind of, growing up, and like, I mean, like, she does talk about her childhood, but the main part of the story, she's like growing up in like that type of environment where it's like not rural, but it's not like really city, that big of a city either. So it kind of takes place in like Ann Arbor,
Okay.
Michigan. And I have like never actually like lived there, but I've gone there. So I thought that I would just like make a story about that. And you know, she lives there, but then she ends up in different places once she's in foster care, like they, place you wherever they can place you. And so she's going through these different homes and she stays in that area, but then she ends up in California.
Okay.
Like wherever she was like originally, she doesn't stay there. And so the second book, she was in California like originally, but she goes back to Michigan because that's what she knows and that's what she's comfortable with. So she goes back to Michigan, but she lives in a different city, which is like Rochester. And so she just lives in a nice, an even nicer place. And so I guess like I wanted to create, you know, a place where she could feel safe, being that her situation changed. I don't want to give the like book away too
Mm-hmm.
much, but um she needed a safer place because of who her biological mother is.
Oh,
And
okay.
so she lives in like a gated apartment community kind of thing. But somehow that gets broken into in the first book, or
Wow.
the second book, I should say, because she's not living in a gated community yet because she's not like old enough. But in the second book, that gets broken into. And so it's like, how does that happen when you're in a gated community? But like, it's just a really crazy, like, it's like a really crazy story. And I like kind of made it where, all these crazy things happen, but it's a short story. And
Okay.
I made it like the first book is about like 70 something pages, and then the second book is like, I think about 60 something pages. So, like, I made all these things happen
Wow.
in like this short period of time, but I wanted to make it where like people would be interested, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you have a long book, sometime you lose interest. You're like, man, how many pages do I have left?
That's true. And so it's important to know your audience and the people you're writing to, right?
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that too because it feels like in real life, things don't always happen very quickly. Sometimes something might happen and then the next exciting thing that happens is like months later. But in a book, like you were talking about, you want to keep your audience's attention and keep things moving forwards. So, do you have any tips for keeping your story moving?
So I think that what I did was I wrote a first my first chapter, and then I thought about, okay, so what title do I want to have for the second chapter, and what topic I want to, go on to? Like, what do I think that would flow the best and happen after, whatever happened in the first chapter, and how can I continue that to make it flow a lot better? So that's kind of where I started. And I'm not, this is my second book, and I haven't had many people buy it, but most people that have bought my book think that the book is about me.
Oh.
Even though I have on my on Lulu, it says, I guess it's fine print, so they probably don't read the whole thing, but it does say on there that it's fiction.
Mm-hmm.
But people still think that it's me, even though my name is not the main character's name. Somehow
Wow.
people think it's me still. And my mom knows my whole life because she gave birth to me,
Mm-hmm.
and um she still has read it, both books, and still thinks it's me. Like, she talks as if it was me, and I'm like, Mom, it's not me.
That's an interesting thing. I had never heard that before.
Yeah, and I think like that's how, like, that the writing is good, when like somebody can see that, the characters are obviously not you. And
Mm-hmm.
even if the people who known you still think that it's you, and it has nothing to do with you, like some of the things didn't happen, and they know that because they were with you through your childhood, then that makes it, I feel like that makes it even more like relatable somehow.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like, oh, I feel like that character is the writer, and I don't put my face on the book, so you don't know what I look like, but for you to actually think that that has to be her.
Mm-hmm.
I think that and not even know me. Some of the people don't actually know me that bought my book. They just know, how I speak as a person, but they don't know my intimate, life or anything, but they still think that it's me. And so I think that, like, I was able to make the character believable enough, even with a fiction, book, that people could feel like that has to be true. That has to be her.
That is impressive. So realistic that people can't. You're talking about even your mom can't tell.
Yeah. I mean, she's like, when she first like tried to edit my first book, she's like, first of all, your dad was this and that. And I'm like, Mom, it's not me.
Um, oh, when we talked on the phone, then you mentioned that you also have written a script for this story to be turned into a movie.
Yeah, so I wrote two scripts, one for the first book, and then one for the second book. And I'm hoping, I'm not sure because I'm not, once I sell it to someone. I don't know how they're going to, you know, take the script and use it. They could make both, both scripts a long movie, or they
Mm-hmm.
can make two different movies. I hope it's two different movies, but I am wanting to um, put it in some kind of big production like Lionsgate or Paramount or something like that. Like, I think I'm pretty sure that that is what's going to happen. Like, I always had high hopes for myself. And I see myself, getting an Oscar for my script. I see myself, maybe winning a Grammy for um, like an audiobook. I haven't done the audio yet, so it's not,
Mm. Yeah.
out there in stone. But I think that if you want to ever achieve anything in life, it doesn't matter if you're writing a script or writing a book, then you need to first believe that anything is possible. Any good thing is possible. Also, I think that you should remember that not everyone's going to like what you have done, your writing of any sorts, but be okay with that because you liked it. And so it's good enough if you like it. And when you're writing, I mean, most of the time you're probably just writing for fun. Like for me, I just kind of, at first, when I wrote my first book, I was just writing it to see what happens. And I wasn't really sure, you know, if people were going to buy it or anything like that. But I started pitching it to a group that I went to on Meetup, and people started wanting to buy it, and I was really surprised. But unfortunately, none of my family members bought my book,
Oh no.
and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But they say that most of the time, the people that will buy your products or anything you're selling is going to be a stranger
Mm-hmm.
because they don't know you, they don't know how to judge you. So they're gonna probably be the first one to say, you know what, I'll try and buy your book and do that for you. Even if they just wanted to buy it to support you or they were just curious about it. Um, I think that it will always be a stranger first, unless you have that supportive family that just like buys anything you're selling.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has the money too, because now the
Mm-hmm.
economy is like how it is now. But um, yeah, I've sold probably about six of my first book, and The Secret Lies in Your DNA, and that was published on lulu.com in March of last year. And then the Shattered Glass book was published this year in February, um, on Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's so cool. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. That's so exciting to have two books published.
Yeah, thank you. My grandfather passed away last February on the 14th, and I kind of wanted to do kind of something to, you know, remember him by, but also it was like a day of like it for me it was like a day of loss, but it's also a day of loving the people that are still here.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that it would be a good idea to publish my book this time on a special day.
Mm-hmm. That is so cool.
Yeah. And I will be coming out with a third book to this series. And that'll be the last book for the whole series. The Secret Lies in Your DNA and the Shattered Glass um one. I will have a third book. I'm not going to say what the name of it is, but I'm working on the third book. I don't know if it's going to be this summer, Um, I'm hoping that I can publish it. But if I do, maybe if you want to have me back, you can.
Hey, yeah, that would be great. And that's super exciting. So now writing your last book, huh, of the trilogy, that's got to feel very good, but maybe also a little bit, I don't know, sad that, like you said, having fun creating this world and creating these characters and then just having it end. How do you feel about that?
um, you know, I think that I feel good because she gets to like the character gets to like tell her whole story. Like in the beginning, she was like kind of having a conversation or talking about conversations she had with the first and second book, but now she's just telling her story about, you know, things that she's been through and, you know, her thoughts growing up as a young adult, like how she views things. And I think that it's going to get better in the third book, so I'm happy that she's going to, like, you know, be more healed and things are going to be more calm in her life. So like I am kind of like, oh well, this is the last book. Am I going to write, like, what am I going to do after this, you know?
Yeah.
That's the kind of like question that I ask myself. And I think that I'm wanting to take a break because I've been writing for like 3 years straight, you know?
Wow.
And so it's a lot, even though there's short stories, it takes a lot of brain power and energy out of you just to write. And I love writing, but there's some days where I just didn't feel like writing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes a lot out of you. But I think that now that I'm on my third book, I have come up with a strategy to make it less strenuous or like less where I feel like, oh, I have to write today. You know,
Yeah.
like I write like a page a day, like just stick to writing a page a day. So then if I'm writing a page a day, within a week I would have 7 pages,
Wow.
you know, instead of saying, well, today I'm going to write a whole chapter. Like that's a lot, you know. And then there's like things I, you know, already working on, you know, outside of that. So it was like, okay, well, how long is it going to take me to do this? So I just stuck to let's write a page a day and see where it goes from there. And I want to, you know, with all three of these books, I want to see how I've grown. And I want other people to see how I've grown and I've changed as a writer and how better I've become as a writer through these three books. Um, and there are some like, you know, cosmetic things that I had found, like one, like maybe one or two cosmetic things, you know, that I found that was in my first book. And I didn't change it on purpose because I wanted to see one, how did I change? You know, what kind of strategies did I use from that book to the second book? And then when I write the third book, I'll be able to see what kind of strategies did I use differently from the second book to the third book. And then all together, I'll be able to see, okay, how much have I grown all together, you know?
Yeah, I like that. Just a little bit, working on it a little bit a day at a time, and then you can accomplish great things and look back on that and see how you've grown. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I also thought that, you know, if I have like, you know, a space in between a word or something, like don't change it, you know. I did it for most of the things that you know, I corrected most of the things, but the thing is like we always want things to be perfect. And we think, oh my gosh, I don't have like I have like a period that's like too far away or something like that from, the word. And it's like you don't have to be perfect to be good at something. You
Yeah.
just have to try your best. And some of the things that I, found, because I kept nitpicking the first book, and I'm like, you know what? Don't if it's there, it's there. There's probably other things that are there. It's not that big of a deal, you know. And I wanted to challenge myself and say, okay, if you have like an extra space in a word, it's not going to change that you're going to get, whether you're going to get bestseller or not. You know what I mean? And some people think that, oh, I have to have things perfect in order to get an Oscar or Grammy or bestseller or whatever it is they're shooting for, but you don't. And I wanted to prove that to myself. But I also want to, in the second book, I end up, nitpicking a lot more because I wanted to, you know, just see the difference between the first and the second book.
Hmm.
How much I've, changed and how much I've nitpicked more. And then like my third book, I'm probably gonna be a little bit, strategic more, and I'm probably going to be, um, still picky, but I think that with being strategic about the way that I'm writing, when I first sit down and write a story, it will stop me from having to go back and find all these errors and things like that because I did it a lot better the first time I sat down and wrote that chapter or page or whatever.
Yeah. When you were talking, it was making me think about if we were all just too picky about what we wrote, it would be so hard to write anything because it would just be so discouraging. But like you're saying, it's not about having a perfect draft, it's about writing and improving and just working on it little by little.
Yeah. And like you never would like my grandma has a book and I don't know how good it is. I don't know if it's not good. Um because she's told me about the book, what it's basically about, but the thing is it's still on her computer. It's not published. It's not, you know, I don't know if anyone's edited even. Like I don't know what she's waiting for, but sometimes there are people that are out there that they're so like unsure of themselves that they never actually try. Like you said, they never actually go out there and just publish it and see what happened. I'm not saying that you have to just, you know write a book today and then just publish it without editing it, because that probably is a good idea. But I'm also saying that you don't have to get all the nooks and crannies the first time. Like when it's your first book and people know that it's your first book, I'm pretty sure people out there are going to, give you some grace, because it's kind of like when you work at McDonald's or something. Like if it's your first day, customers aren't going to yell at you that you didn't get their order correctly. You know what I mean? Because there's going to be, things that you're going to have to learn along the way, and how to do things effectively and how to do things productively. And I think that I have learned that, and I have tried to do that even with my like script. I have never wrote a script professionally before, and this is my first time writing a script professionally, but I found that out on YouTube. I like Google everything, how I want to do something. If I want to do something, that's why the internet is so awesome if you use it correctly, because you can find out how to do anything. I
That's
mean,
true.
you probably should leave to a professional. But when it comes to like writing, I mean, it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah, you can learn a
Maybe
lot.
maybe someone, maybe, a director will give you grace and take your writing even though it's not professional. You didn't go to school for it. Like I didn't, but and my school didn't teach us how to do scripts. I just had to like look on YouTube University and then and then you can find anything. Like I've taught myself how to do a lot of things, and that's just from YouTube. And so I think that people just have to use the tools that they have, but also it's all about believing in yourself first. If you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe that you can sell a book, well, you can't convince anyone else.
That is so true. Very inspiring. Thank you so much you shared a lot of really very wise things today. So thank you so much for coming on talking with me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Do you have any other last words of wisdom that you would like to share?
I would say when you are doing anything, just be you. Just be true to you, and it'll be easy. If you are not true to you, then things will be hard.
Amen to that. Yes. Well, perfect. Thank you so much.